So despite all the papers, CFO refuses to react. And so, again, back to the politics of it, it's really interesting. Salmon farming is actually unconstitutional in Canada because you're not allowed to privatize ocean spaces and you're not allowed to own fish. In fact, they don't own those fish. The government got a decision in 1984. They went to a lawyer. They said, well, what do we do about this? The lawyer said, you know what, you're going to have to change the Constitution of Canada. And they went, oh, no, we're not going to do that. So they did this. In 1988, the government of Canada gave salmon farming to the province. And shazam, they became farms. Okay, so now, well, we don't know how to deal with farms. You just look inside the pen, you regulate, how many animals there are, what kind of drugs, but nobody looks around the farm. So in the area of the Broughton, we got into a very difficult situation where the environmental organizations were actually backing the fish farmers in expanding. And they had a good reason because they were going to try to empty one migration route one year and one migration route the next year, have it pulse on and off. But as you guys know, the salmon have to go to sea every year. So I went to this lawyer, Greg McDade. I said, can we get an injunction against this happening? And he said, well, let me look at this. And then he comes back, he goes, this whole thing's not legal. The province has no right to be managing this industry. And so we went to court, and it's very rare to change status quo, but the judge was clearly a steelhead fisherman. It was really interesting because through the 3 days of very boring procedure, he corrected my lawyer 3 times on the life history of steelhead, which we all know is a little bit confusing. So I think that's what did it. But anyway, we changed it for better or for worse. So what happened was all the chips are in the air now. The fish farms don't belong to the province. The province still has them. The federal government has to make up rules to accept them and be able to deal with them. And this is all going to come slamming down in December 18th. And the federal government has written the dream rules. They must have had the CEOs in Norway actually write these rules. This industry is 92% Norwegian. They're going to be able to pick what diseases they report. They're going to be able to have the bycatch that's in the pens. They're going to be able to expand with no environmental assessments. I almost feel like I've made a mistake, except that hopefully we can stop this again and just chase these guys right out. Like I said, when salmon farms first came to the Broughton, I thought they were a good idea. And then for a long time, I thought there was a place for them on this coast. But when I went to Norway, we met stock analysts and we went to farms and, we were really rummaging around the country, and then we went to the AGM, and on one of the last nights I was in Norway, the head of Marine Harvest, which is an enormous company, they have farms all over the world. They own the fisheries that make the food. I mean, these guys actually fish more than they make. They catch fish in Chile, they bring them up the globe, they throw those fish in the water, and then they take out less fish. This is some kind of scheme that isn't working for anybody but them. Anyway, so this woman, who's the head of Marine Harvest, she just said, what do you want? And I said, you got to downsize. You got to get off the Fraser River migration route, our biggest wild salmon migration route. And there's no place for you to go because the North Coast has held strong and they will not allow salmon farms in. And so she looked at me like I was an idiot. She said, we can't downsize. It's not about how many fish we have or the price of the fish. It's about the share price. I was like, oh, it's about the share price. So, share price is never any good. It has to grow. And so that means these guys are going to do the only way they can survive is by getting bigger all the time. And, that's what we call cancer. Something that just grows and grows and grows. It kills off the system it's in. So here they're pouring smolts into their pens, and every time I see this, well, I just want to ram my boat into it, but of course they would barely make a dent. It's so repulsive to me to see this. This is a beautiful place that all the fry in my area that come out from Butte Channel want to stick because it's in a natural dent in the coast, and they dump in hundreds of thousands of carnivorous salmon right there. And these are just some of the animals that share the Broughton. So today, where are we at with this? Let me just tell you a little bit about what's happening right now. So we have this problem with the Fraser sockeye. And when you look at a graph of when these fish actually started to decline, and when the Pacific Salmon Forum talks about the decline of the Fraser sockeye, they talk about productivity. So what that means is how many adults return for every parent. And each one of these little stints here is a year, and this is 1992. This is the first IHN outbreak we had in Ocotillo Channel off of Campbell River. And the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands did not tell the Ministry of Environment, kept it a secret. And when the Ministry of Environment did find out, this happened in July, and they found out in October, nothing changed. DFO did nothing. Those diseased fish stayed in the water for 3 years. And it spread to 13 farms in a 20-kilometer radius. And then if you could see all of that, that happened again in 2003. And what this line does is it goes do, and then it goes way down for last year, and then boop, pops way up. And that's not on there yet, but that's what this year is going to look like. So I think what happened is, I think the other part of the story is the Harrison sockeye that are known to go around the southern end of Vancouver Island are not part of this. They have actually been increasing during this whole 18-year decline of the majority of Fraser sockeye. And DFO just did a huge DNA study combined with the Americans where they trawled sockeye all through the Pacific Ocean, North Pacific, and along the coast, and they never find Harrison going up between Vancouver Island and the mainland. So those of us who are concerned about fish farms, like I said, since 1991, first me and then more and more, we keep going, let's see your disease records, let's see your disease records. Fish farmers always say, look, it's no problem, but no, you can't see them, it's private. So in 2004, the T-Buck Suzuki Foundation, so not the David Suzuki, but the T-Buck, which is associated with the Fishermen's Union, they filed a Freedom of Information request for the disease information for 2004. 6 years later, it was decided that that information really was public, and they were given it. And so T-Buck went back and said, okay, we want 2004 to now, and the fish farmers said no. And furthermore, they said, if you make this disease information public, we will never share disease information with the government again. That was on March of this year. The disease information was released to T-Buck for the 1 year for 2004. 30 days later, the fish farmers told the province of British Columbia that the vets could no longer go on their farms to check their fish for disease. I don't know of any ranchers that could do that, you know.